Oliver Hayes never liked staying late at university, but during exam season he often had no choice. One freezing December night, after spending hours finishing coursework in the campus library, Oliver finally left just after midnight and walked toward the nearly empty bus station outside the city center. Rain fell steadily across the streets, while icy wind rattled old signs and scattered litter across the pavement. Normally, the number 12 bus took him directly home within 20 minutes, but that night the roads were strangely silent. Only one bus remained waiting beneath the dim station lights. Route 77. Oliver frowned immediately. He had lived in the city for nearly 4 years and had never once seen a Route 77 before. The bus itself looked older than the others parked nearby. Its faded paint appeared dull beneath the rain, and several interior lights flickered weakly through fogged windows. Still, the digital sign above the windshield clearly displayed, 77 last stop. The driver sat motionless behind the wheel wearing an old dark uniform. His face remained hidden beneath the shadow of his cap. Oliver checked his phone for the next number 12 arrival, but the screen displayed no signal. Rain intensified around him, and the station slowly emptied until he stood alone beside the strange bus. After several minutes, the doors suddenly hissed open. The driver never looked at him. Exhausted and wanting only to get home, Oliver stepped aboard. The moment he entered, something felt wrong. The inside of the bus was completely silent except for the soft hum of the engine. Around a dozen passengers sat scattered throughout the seats, all perfectly motionless. Nobody spoke. Nobody looked at their phones. Most stared blankly ahead with pale, exhausted expressions. Their clothes looked oddly outdated, ranging from old-fashioned coats to uniforms Oliver did not recognize. A cold sensation crept across his skin as he sat near the middle of the bus. The doors closed immediately. Then the bus began moving. At first, everything seemed normal. Rain streaked across the windows while empty city streets passed outside. But after several minutes, Oliver noticed the route felt unfamiliar. The bus turned away from the main roads and entered parts of the city he had never seen before. Buildings outside gradually changed too. Streetlights became fewer and dimmer. Shops disappeared. The roads looked older somehow, cracked and abandoned beneath the rain. Oliver checked his phone again, still no signal. Then he noticed something else. None of the passengers had moved once since he boarded, not a single blink, not a breath. Trying to calm himself, Oliver walked toward the front of the bus and asked the driver where Route 77 was headed. The driver remained silent for several seconds before slowly speaking in a rough voice without looking up. "Final stop. That's not a real destination," Oliver replied nervously. "Where exactly are we going?" The driver's hands tightened slightly around the steering wheel. "You'll see soon enough." A cold knot formed in Oliver's stomach. He returned to his seat and stared outside. The city had vanished completely now. Endless dark roads stretched through heavy rain beneath empty fields and dead trees. There were no buildings, no other vehicles. Just darkness illuminated occasionally by distant flickering streetlights. Then the bus stopped suddenly beside an isolated road sign. One passenger stood up. It was an elderly woman wearing a soaked gray coat. Without speaking, she slowly walked toward the exit. As she passed Oliver, he noticed something horrifying. Her feet never touched the floor. The bus doors opened. Beyond them was nothing but darkness. The woman stepped outside and disappeared instantly into the black void beyond the road. The doors closed again. The bus continued moving. Panic began rising inside Oliver's chest. He stood quickly and demanded the driver stop the bus immediately, but the driver ignored him entirely. The other passengers remained motionless in their seats. Then Oliver noticed a small photograph taped beside the driver's seat. It showed the exact same bus, destroyed in a terrible crash. The newspaper clipping beneath the image read, "Route 77 accident claims 14 lives, December 1998. Oliver's blood turned cold. Nearly 20 years earlier. Hands shaking, Oliver looked around the bus again. This time he noticed details he had missed before. Several passengers had visible injuries hidden beneath their clothing. One man's face appeared badly burned along one side. Another passenger's neck bent unnaturally at an impossible angle. Rainwater dripped constantly from the ceiling onto the aisle, though the roof itself looked intact. Then every passenger slowly turned their heads toward Oliver at the exact same moment. The movement happened in complete silence. Dozens of pale eyes stared directly at him, and for the first time they smiled. Oliver stumbled backward in terror as the bus accelerated violently down the empty road. Outside the windows, Dark human-like figures now stood scattered across the fields, watching the bus pass through the rain. Their bodies appeared thin and motionless beneath distant flickering lights. One of the passengers suddenly spoke in a whisper. "You're not supposed to be here." Others began whispering too, soft overlapping voices filling the bus. "Wrong passenger. He's alive. He needs to get off before the end." Oliver rushed toward the emergency exit near the back, but the doors would not open. He slammed against the windows desperately, yet outside there was only endless darkness now. The road itself seemed to disappear beneath thick black fog. Then the driver finally spoke again. "Last stop." Ahead in the distance, a faint glow emerged through the rain. At first, Oliver thought it was another town. Then he realized the light came from a massive tunnel entrance built into the side of a hill. Strange, pale lights flickered deep within it, while dozens of shadowy figures stood silently near the entrance waiting. The passengers slowly began standing from their seats, one by one, still smiling. The bus moved faster toward the tunnel. Oliver screamed for help, kicking desperately at the doors while panic consumed him completely. Suddenly one passenger, a young woman with blood running down one side of her face, grabbed his arm tightly. "You still have time," she whispered. Then she pointed toward the window beside him. For a split second, Oliver saw another road appearing beside the bus through the fog. Without thinking, he smashed the emergency hammer against the glass. The window shattered. Freezing rain exploded into the bus as Oliver threw himself through the opening and out into darkness. He hit wet ground hard. Pain shot through his body. Then silence. Dazed and trembling, Oliver looked upward just in time to see the bus continuing down the road toward the glowing tunnel before disappearing completely into the fog. The road around him was empty. No tunnel. No passengers. No Route 77. Only rain. Hours later, police found Oliver wandering beside a motorway nearly 15 miles outside the city. He was suffering from shock and minor injuries, but otherwise alive. Officers assumed he had been hit by a vehicle or suffered some kind of mental breakdown after exhaustion. However, one elderly officer became visibly disturbed after hearing Oliver describe the bus number. Route 77. The officer later revealed that in December 1998, a late-night bus carrying 14 passengers crashed during heavy rain and vanished into a flooded ravine outside the city. None of the bodies were ever fully recovered. Since then, scattered reports occasionally emerged during stormy nights from stranded travelers claiming they saw an old bus waiting beneath flickering lights after midnight. Always Route 77, always carrying silent passengers, and according to local legend, anyone who reaches the final stop never returns. The story ends. The scary mystery of Route 77. Please subscribe the Era of Mysteries channel for more mysteries.